Do you remember when a night out meant sticky floors, smoke in the air, and a band so close you felt the kick drum in your chest? Before rooftop patios and velvet ropes, Canada's best nights lived in small rooms with big hearts. Tonight, we're walking back into 10 bars that built scenes and stitched neighborhoods together, rooms that opened in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, and were gone by the late 80s and 90s when the city maps changed. We'll feel the crowd, hear last call, and sit with the quiet after the lights went out. Which one would you visit one more time? Comment, subscribe, and let's keep the stories alive. You could hear it before you saw it. Yonge Street, early 1960s. A red door, a line that didn't mind the cold. Inside, the room felt close. Burgundy walls, low stage, a small cage perched above it like a dare. Ronnie Hawkins and the Hawks turning sweat into swing. Young players learning how to hold a room with 4 tight bars and a backbeat that didn't flinch. This is where the Toronto sound found its legs. R and B grit, organ stabs, sharp horns, a rhythm section that kept the floor moving. You didn't watch a show here, you were inside it. The atmosphere was pure electricity, booths buzzing, waitresses threading the crowd with trays like choreography, lights catching chrome, hair pomade, and the glint of a brass section on the downbeat. Friday felt like a long exhale. Saturday felt like a promise kept. If you were young and hungry, this was school. If you were older and tired, this was medicine. Bands built their chops 6 nights a week. Word of mouth did the rest. Le Coq d'Or wasn't fancy, but it didn't need to be. It was a neighborhood engine with a national echo. So why did it fade? The mid-70s brought new numbers. Rents climbed, insurance and licenses tightened. Big FM sound drifted to arenas. Disco and later DJs stretched dance floors with less overhead. Redevelopment took its cut of Yonge Street. The math on house bands stopped working. By the late 1970s into the 80s, the red door closed and the corridor shifted. But the imprint stayed. Walk that block today, and you can still feel a little kick in the pavement, like a downbeat waiting for the lights to warm. Close your eyes and you're on St. Antoine in the late 1950s. A narrow doorway, a low stage barely big enough for a trio. The lights are dim, the walls wear local art. Cigarette smoke curls into the ceiling while a tiny kitchen pushes out fried chicken, ribs, black-eyed peas, and cornbread. You slide into a bench that wobbles just a bit. Then the first notes hit. Bebop, blues, a bass that feels like a second pulse. Miles, Duke, Monk passing through. Nelson Simons making the regulars forget the clock. It wasn't just a bar. It was a room that held a neighborhood together. Musicians finished their gigs and came here to talk, trade choruses, and chase one more chorus of coffee. Writers claimed the corner tables. The Black Bottom gave Montreal its first taste of soul food and turned Little Burgundy into a late-night classroom. The sound was intimate enough to hear a glass set down on the bar and loud enough to drown out a bad day. If you were lucky, you got a booth. If you weren't, you stood, and you didn't mind. By the early 1980s, the city changed. The club moved from Saint Antoine to St. Paul in 1968, but redevelopment kept pressing in. The crowd aged, rents rose, tastes drifted from smoke-thick jazz rooms to bigger halls and cleaner lines. One night the door didn't open and the music moved on, but the memory didn't. Ask around Little Burgundy and someone will point to an empty stretch of street and smile. You can almost smell the cornbread, hear the ride cymbal, and feel that late-night Montreal warmth that stayed until the last tune. Queen Street West, mid-1980s. Neon flicker, a narrow stair. Then, suddenly, palm fronds, tiki lights, a courtyard vibe in the middle of the city. The bamboo felt like summer, even in February. Ska on Monday, reggae on Tuesday, world beat on the weekend. Parachute pants, Doc Martens, leather jackets, shoulder to shoulder. You ordered a red stripe, squeezed in by the stage, and felt the bass line roll up through the floorboards. Bands didn't just play here, they rehearsed a neighborhood's confidence in real time. Atmosphere did the heavy lifting. Bamboo slats on the walls, murals fading just right, sweat fogging the mirrors by midnight. The kitchen sent out jerk chicken and plantain that tasted like a plane ticket. A DJ would slide from dub into funk and no one left the floor. This was the beating heart of Queen West's art scene. Musicians, painters, filmmakers, swapping ideas under heat lamps and cheap beer. The room taught Toronto that global rhythms belong in a local bar, that a small stage can hold a big world. Why did it disappear? The late 1990s caught up. Rents climbed as Queen West turned from scrappy to chic. Noise complaints met tighter bylaws. Insurance and security costs rose with the weekend crowds. The math tipped from community hub to real estate play, and the door closed in the early 2000s. But the echo's still there. Walk past the block on a cold night and you can feel a warm draft, hear a conga ghost the backbeat, and remember when a downtown room felt like a passport with your name on it. You remember the first time you climbed those stairs. Early 1980s, no frills, just bass in your ribs and a light show that felt like a secret code. The Twilight Zone wasn't a club, it was a portal. House, electro, hip-hop, new wave. DJs stitched it together like a late-night quilt. The room was dark, the crowd was mixed, and the door felt open to anyone who came to dance. You learned how long a night could be when the music didn't let go. The atmosphere was pure city heartbeat, strobes cutting fog, a booth that sounded bigger than the room, sneakers squeaking at 3 a.m., then again at 5. You'd find breakers in one corner, Vogue in another, and a circle that cheered anyone brave enough to step in. It was inclusive by design. No one asked who you were if you knew how to move. Scenes met here and made new ones on the spot. Toronto's underground found its center on that floor. By the late 1980s into the early 90s, pressure mounted. Bylaws tightened for after-hours rooms. Police visits got routine. Rents rose as the neighborhood got pricier. Bigger, polished venues copied the sound without the soul. One weekend, the zone was gone. But talk to anyone who lived it and watch their eyes light up. You can still hear the kick, still feel the unity, like a heartbeat that never quite stops. Granville Street, late 1970s into the 80s. A black box room with a line that wrapped around the block. Inside, new wave, goth, industrial, and a dance floor that felt like a safe harbor. Black eyeliner, leather, teased hair. You ordered a drink, found your people, and let the synths carry you. Love Affair wasn't trying to be everything. It was perfect at being itself. The energy lived in shadows and neon. A DJ who could turn a night with a single drop. Smoke machines, mirror shards, catching just enough light to make you feel seen. Bands on tour would stop in. Locals grew up here. Style, identity, confidence. It was inclusive before that word made posters. If you were different, this door was your door. The room taught Vancouver how to lean into the weird and make it beautiful. Then the 1990s pressed in. Downtown rents crept up. Ownership changed. Noise and licensing rules got stricter. As the Strip chased a more commercial shine, the dark room with the tender heart slipped away. But the imprint lingers in wardrobes, playlists, and friendships that started under those lights. Walk past Granville at night, and it's easy to imagine the synth swell and the feeling that, for a few hours, you belonged. Early 1980s, a brick corner near the tracks. You step inside the King Eddy, and the room is already warm. Blues on the stage, beer on the table, stories in every scuff on the floor. Legends rolled through, local heroes, touring lifers, players who could bend a note until it caught the light. You didn't need to know the set list, you just needed to be there. Atmosphere was all texture, neon humming, a guitar crying in the right kind of way, regulars nodding hello before they even turned their heads. The Eddy felt honest, no posture, no rush. Just a room that let the music do its work. Calgary's scene found a home base here. Players met, bands formed, young fans learned how to listen. By the late 1990s, time took its cut. The building aged. Ownership changes, redevelopment pressure, and the long dip in live music budgets pushed the doors closed in 2004. It found a way back later as part of a revitalized block, but the old late-night grit is a memory now. If you stand outside at dusk, you can almost hear a slow 12-bar rolling out the door, like a train you just missed, but can still feel in your chest. Downtown Edmonton, 1960s into the 70s. Ice Eyes felt like Saturday night, even on a Tuesday. Red banquettes, a tight stage with a bandstand glow. Comedians, crooners, burlesque, and house players who could turn on a dime. You took your seat, set your coat down, and knew you were in for a show. It was classy without being stiff. Waiters in motion, a host who remembered faces, the band sliding from jazz standards into something a little looser as the night got older. Ices connected a growing city to a bigger circuit, touring acts, local talent, a sense that Edmonton could swing with the best of them. The room made you feel part of it, not just watching it. Then came the 1970s shift. Television pulled more nights in. Tastes moved from supper club variety to arena spectacle and FM rock. Costs climbed, margins thinned, and Ices faded out. The building changed hands, the sign came down, but the glow sticks around in stories and old playbills. If you close your eyes on Jasper Avenue, you can still hear a rim shot and laughter rolling to the back wall. Winnipeg winters, late 1970s into the 90s. You duck into the Royal Albert and your glasses fog. The room hits you, loud, fast, alive. Punks, skaters, art kids, sticky floor, cheap beer, amps stacked like a dare. Local bands learned to go hard or go home. Touring vans pointed here because the crowd gave back everything they had. The atmosphere was honest and a little dangerous in the best way. Flyers layered on flyers. A pit that understood rules without needing signs. The stage was barely a rise, which made the room feel like one big band. Winnipeg's DIY heartbeat loud here, zines, tapes, friendships forged by feedback and frost. By the 2000s, it got harder. Ownership churn, renovations, closures, and reopens, each time losing a little more ground to changing tastes and downtown pressure. Today, the legend is bigger than the room. Ask a local, and you'll get a story about a night that got out of hand in exactly the right way. On a cold night, the Royal still warms up in memory. Spadina and Queen, 1960s into the late 70s. The Shoe is still with us, but those basement years feel like another planet. You went down the steps and found country one week, punk the next, and something in between on a Wednesday. Stomps on the floorboards, posters curling at the edges, a bar that poured fast and listened slow. The Clash rehearsed upstairs. Local kids figured out what came after. The feeling was community over polish. You recognized faces by the second song. Bands borrowed gear and left with new friends. Toronto's crossover from twang to new wave happened in rooms like this, and the Horseshoe wore the change like a favorite jacket. The walls learned every chord. Renovations and reinvention kept the place alive, but the basement vibe, smoke thick, shoulder to shoulder, belongs to the past. Still, when you walk in today and hear a snare snap just right, you get a flash of it. Proof that a room can change and keep its soul. Mid-1970s into the 80s. The Elmo's neon palm pulled you up Spadina like a lighthouse. Inside, low ceiling, hot lights, and a stage that seemed to run on gasoline. Blues, rock, and everything loud enough to leave your ears ringing. Some nights were legends on arrival, others turned into one by last call. The vibe was packed and conspiratorial. You were shoulder to shoulder with strangers who felt like friends by the second chorus. Big names would sneak in under fake bookings. Local bands grew fast here because the room didn't let you hide. If the crowd loved you, you knew it. If they didn't, you knew that too. The Elmo story bent but didn't break. Closures, sales, rebirths. The original grit gave way to modern sound and fresh paint, but the memory of those sweaty, loud, perfect nights is the real brand. Look up at the palm, and it still feels like permission to stay out too late. Which room would you step back into for one more set? Drop your pick in the comments. If you love this walk through Canada's late nights, hit subscribe. We've got more memories to unlock, venues, scenes, and the sounds that still drift down our streets.